Himalayan art has many, many images, paintings, sculpture of tantric deities, single-faced, two-armed, multi-faced, multi-armed, peaceful, wrathful. There's literally hundreds and hundreds of them. Just Tara alone, we have over 100, 200 different forms. So from a religious context point of view, it's very important to classify. In Buddhism in general, it's very important to classify, list, and number. Okay, that's a bit of an inside joke. But so in classifying the different deities, we have to classify the literature. And the literature that describes the deities are called tantras. So tantras are the technical manuals of Vajrayana Buddhism. And we have a number of these in English of different books, but most of them are quite difficult. So this book review video, really I'm going to talk about several books. First and foremost, the book I would recommend is called Overview of Buddhist Tantra, General Presentation of the Classes of Tantra, etc., etc. Now, it's by Panchen Sonam Dragpa, and he was really the beginning of the 16th century. And the English translation was done by Martin Boord and Lobsang Norbu, and that was done out of Library of Tibetan Works and Archives in 1996. This is by far the easiest and the best book to look at for understanding the classifications of Tantra. And there's mainly four classifications. Kriya, Charya, Yoga, and what's called Anuttara Yoga. Now these also have subcategories within them, but we're not going to go into that. Now, the second book is a bit of a popular book, and it's called Path of the Bodhisattva Warrior, The Life and Teachings of the 13th Dalai Lama. And this is translated by Glenn Mullin, and that was done out of Snow Lion Publications back in '88. But what Glenn has done is he's translated a short teaching by the 13th Dalai Lama that enumerates the four classifications of Tantra and how things work. And it is really a good read. It's very concise, very clear. Now, the third book is called A Crisis of Doxography, How Tibetans Organized Tantra during the 8th to 12th centuries. Now, this is by Jacob Dalton out of Berkeley, California. It was published in the Journal of the International Association of Buddhist Studies. That was back in 2005. This is by far the most essential book if you're seriously interested in the topic. Now, he does not lay out the classifications of Tantra. He talks about the history of the how the four classifications or five or seven came about. Who were the authors? When were they doing it, and why? This is essential reading for anybody interested in the classifications of Tantra. Okay, then we have a fourth book, The Yogini's Eye. Now, this is a translation. It's a little rough reading because it's a translation from the Tibetan, and it's a Tibetan text that was written really in the, in the mid 12th century. So it's a bit archaic. Writing and translating is a little difficult, but that's by Ngor Thartse Khenpo, Sonam Gyatso, and Wayne Verrill, and that was published very late, very recently, 2012. There are some other books. Now, there's two volumes that were done, Tantra in Tibet and the Yoga of Tibet, and this is out of the Great Exposition of Secret Mantra by Tsong-ka-pa. And this is translated by Jeffrey Hopkins, two different books. One was done in 1977, one in 81. A bit tough reading, but you can get good information out of them. Now, really the earliest book that people use in English was called Introduction to Buddhist Tantric Systems by F.D. Lessing and Alex Wayman. That was I don't know who originally published it, but I'm familiar with the Motilal Banarsi Das publication of 1978. A very rough translation, if I do say so. Very rough. And it's a translation of a text, I believe, by Gelik, a student, one of the principal students of Tsong-ka-pa. So a bit of a tough read because the translation is very awkward. But the very best book is Overview of Buddhist Tantra by Martin Boord and Lobsang Norbu, and it is a translation. It's a translation from Panchen Sonam Dragpa, 16th century. Excellent book. This is the book that you would want if you're interested in this subject. An easy read is the Glenn Mullin, the 13th Dalai Lama. Very easy read and very enjoyable. And then if you're a serious person, then you want to read A Crisis of Doxography. So go to the HAR website, go to Tantra Classification, and you can find this list of publications. You can, right now, you can press the like button, you can subscribe, you can join HAR on Patreon, and more importantly, you can go to the homepage of the Himalayan Art Resources website and make a donation, because we can only do what we do because you are sending in $1 or $5 or $10 or $100. We rely on your donations. We have no corporate funding, we have no university funding, we have no government funding. We are a not-for-profit 501c3 in the United States, but we rely on donations. So thank you for that.